Can we talk about how the American dream and climbing the corporate ladder has been a total scam from the beginning that we bought into? And for me, when I was a little girl, I knew that I didn't want to live the lifestyle that I saw around me. And I knew that I had dreams of owning my own skill set, owning my own business. Even when I didn't have the language for it, I could remember the feeling that I had when I was younger, seeing the people around me. They're going to jobs they hate. They're, living for the weekends, hoping to get some type of escape. Then they are seeking more and more money for jobs that never appreciated them anyway. And just building this life of day to day going through the motions. And when I was seeing this, I knew that I wanted something different, which is why I was the young girl who had the lemonade stands, who was selling candy in school, always looking for some type of business, which I didn't know that I didn't put that term on it then. But what I was really seeking was independence and freedom. It was something that I knew if I go down the path of what I see, it's not going to be what I want. No judgment, no like, oh, I don't want to be, it wasn't like, I don't want to be like y'all or anything like that. It was just, I knew in my heart of hearts what I desired. So I'm going to say it was just a distinction from God given to me because I didn't even have language or knowledge to what that would look like, that I wanted something different. But somehow, along the way, going to college, getting the degrees and the accolades and all the things, I ended up in that corporate space. And I'm grateful for it because I was able to take the skill sets that I learned and apply it to what I'm doing today in business, which could probably be a whole other video. But I can remember being in these roles and positions where it was all right. You ever be in you've been in a relationship where it's like, it's cool. There's really no spark, there's no butterflies, there's no anything. It's just status quo. And for my that part of my career, even though I was getting promoted, I was getting recognized, I was traveling, getting awards and all of these things, right? None of it was enough. It just wasn't. And I would watch my peers, like they're excited, they're hungry, they see the foolishness that's happening, but they're like, hey, it just is what it is. And they're excited and planning to, continue this journey along how many ever years it's going to take to get to retirement. Because again, in our world, in the US, in our country, whatever the case may be, and for many others as well, the thought process is this is just what we do. And I was thinking about this the other day. I wonder what it's like. I've never lived abroad or in other places, but I wonder what it's like outside of our country in terms of jobs, productivity, making a living for yourself. I wonder if they're the same undertones. Like you just do what you have to do to get it done, and that's just what it is. Forget about passion, forget about dreams. Like this is what you do, this is what you're gonna do. You just continue to work your way up and just try to get the most money you can in the process to alleviate what pain or suffering you may be experiencing by doing that. And I just thought about a story from when I was in sales. I remember this coworker saying that she would do all this grinding. We ran on quarters. Like if you're in sales, you have a quota that is typically money that you have to bring in each quarter, right? So she was like, I would bust my tail all quarter and then, in the quarter in tears, and I would just use the bills or the check that I got from all the work that I did to dry my tears. And she said it very, laissez faire, like it just is what it is. I grind, I'm upset, da da da. I'll just wipe my tears with my checks. And I think that's how a lot of work is, whether you're in sales or not, or in whatever field. A lot of times in these positions, that is the way that we feel. I can remember sharing with an organization that I was working for that I felt like it was time. Like it's time to move on. Oprah just did this clip a while ago talking about when she knew it was time to move on for the Oprah show. And my comment was in this vein. Imagine if we approached our corporate careers the same way when we knew it was time to move on and we just did it. In entrepreneurship on this side, I could totally see it. Like we got into this so that we can create something that we love. And so if it's not that, then we've got to move on, right? But in the corporate space, my experience was that wasn't very well received. It was more like, well, I need you here and I need this and it was very focused on what they needed instead of accepting me saying, look, I'm not the best uh I, how can I say this? I'm not producing the greatest amount of value here because my heart is no longer in it. And it's not to say that, oh, I want to leave or not even, it may not even be that I'm doing a bad job, right? Because I've been in positions like that too, where I'm getting, accolades and I'm doing the work well. I just literally hate it. Like, I just hate it. It's like every time I have to muster myself up to be able to do the things required to excel in the role. And no amount of promotion, no amount of recognition could solve that. And it's a part of the reason why I do what I do, even in the broader scope, because I don't want people to have that same experience. Because for me, it led to anxiety, it led to depression, it led to just this emptiness that I began to feel because on the outside, everything looks great. But on the inside, it's like everything is breaking down because I'm not being honest and true to myself. Getting out of that, for me, it was finally getting out and starting my business. But I recognize that often in other cases, it may not be that drastic of just being like, I'm done, because everybody's not carved out to be a entrepreneur, so to speak. But at the core of what my decision was getting back in alignment with my truth. I knew my truth. I knew what I wanted. I just said, I was thinking about owning my own business and having ventures at 9, 10 years old. This was in my blood. I didn't even choose it. It chose me. So I knew it's what I wanted to do. I knew it's where I wanted to be. I just was too afraid to be honest with myself and then take the action that aligns with that truth. So if you've ever felt like that, this is a long story and background, but if you're feeling like that in your position, no matter how high level it is, that it's something missing there, that it's 80% good. That's another thing too. It's like, well, it's more good than bad. Why do we have to take more good than bad? Like, why can't I understand life obviously cannot all be good. We're not living in a fairy tale. But the bad should be like minuscule to me. I believe that whatever reality you choose, you can have. So just like we've arrived to this reality that most of us can relate to of I'm doing the work, I'm doing the things, I've climbed the ladder, but I feel unfulfilled and, live for the weekends, do the work that you got to do and just worry about, yourself when you get off. That's a learned behavior. That's a learned reality. That's not written in a book that that's the way that life has to go. That is, again, what I said about even thinking about in an international context. I wonder if that's the same mindset or thought process. I would be willing to bet it's not. I would be willing to bet in some cultures, there is a totally different reality. So if that is possible, that means we as individuals can decide to accept whatever reality we want, which may be, I don't settle for just good enough. I don't settle for my life, my work to be 80% good and 20% bad. I don't do that. I strive for the 100 as much as I can. And not saying every time something happens, I'm going to burn it down, just like being in a relationship. When they don't do the dishes one day, you don't file for a divorce or break up with the person. So you wouldn't do that with your career either. But that again should be minuscule. And only you can determine what is minuscule for you versus something that's a big deal that you need to take care of. All I can say is that for the things that feel heavy, like if you literally get to a point where you have to do a pep talk in order to open the laptop, it might be time to take some inventory. It might be time to tell some truths and to make some decisions to get in alignment. And that could look like many different ways. Like I said, my first way was, let me express this. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I want to move into. You know, I've given you so much. I've been here. I've, you know, stayed late. I've done all the things that they've said to do. I've given you the blood, sweat, and tears, literally. Now I need to choose myself. And if you can't partner with me on that, okay, well, then there's my next course of action, because then I have to determine, well, do I want to stick around to whenever they decide to get in alignment, or is it time for me to make a move now? And that's, again, only a decision that you can do for yourself. But what I'll tell you is being on this side of choosing, getting in alignment with what I truly desire has been the best choice. And now I look back, I was thinking about this yesterday. I know why I had my time in corporate, because now working with people, doing the thing in my passion, I can pull from those skill sets and help people be better in their careers. And even folks who are still in corporate America, help them learn how to leverage the tools that I use now in order to create fulfillment in my life, to lead yourself, to build relationships, to sell to bigger clients, right? All of these things came from that personal experience, which would have never happened if I wasn't in that space. And knowing that I was given the opportunity to come out of it and come back to my truth. So the journey was not in vain, but it was important to develop the story. And I think that the value, or the main point that I want to hit with this video, is never lose sight of your personal truth. Don't let circumstances or situations or learned behavior, people around you, whatever the case may be, dictate what your story is, because you already know your truth. I had to look crazy a lot. I probably look crazy to a lot of my colleagues that I worked with. They're like, what is she doing? You know, I've had people from high school like, well, what does a consultant do? Like, they don't understand it. So that willingness to also be misunderstood, to be an island of one until you find your island of other folks who think just as crazy as you, is the journey. But I'd rather be on this side than to be on the side of darkness, where I literally had to not only muster myself up to do the things throughout the day, but muster myself up to move forward in my life. It was no ease. It was all forced. And so I hope that this has been a wake-up call to those who may be in a similar position to me, to, at the end of the year, while you're doing your personal reviews and you're looking at your goals, get back in alignment with your truth. And remember what was already planted inside of you before this whole thing even started. And just take one move to getting back in alignment with that. All right, that's all I got. I'll see you on the next one.